Hello, welcome everyone to Heart Connect Thursday. Whenever you are watching this, these are short little snippets that are designed to help you look within and move forward, especially in areas where you're feeling stuck. And today's discussion, I want to start by painting a picture with a story I've actually never shared, I realized. But when I was coming towards the end of my initial stage of my career as a chiropractor, I made a decision to stop by the home of a patient of mine who had just had a baby. I was a pediatric chiropractor, and this was like a typical day, right? So inevitably, things ended late at the office, so I was late getting to her. And my husband had somewhere to be, and I have a six. At that time, he was six. Our youngest son was too young to just be at home by himself, and so I'm last minute trying to, have my husband bring him in, and I'll meet them at the place. And my husband was having a massage, and so I ended up being really, really late. And I was sitting in the parking lot of where I was picking up my son from my husband, just feeling racked with guilt and like so mad at myself for having created the situation again, because this wasn't the first time where I made a decision out of wanting to care for the people, my patients, and also loving and wanting to care for my family, and just feeling so torn between the two. And like I was failing in all the areas and not able to make it all work. And this is something that far too many of us as entrepreneurs and as leaders struggle with. And it's this idea that we're going to get into today of really looking at what is at the root of what drives us to make those decisions, because they're not made from a place of like, I'm going to ignore my family today, or or if anything, it's that we have so much, especially in service-based industries, that we want to give, and we don't know where to put in the boundaries or how to do that in a healthful way that actually creates harmony and balance in our lives and has us feel like we're fully present and actually winning and thriving rather than just barely surviving all of this. And a lot of this comes to, I shared a post yesterday about, I've been in San Diego. You might notice my background is a little different, for almost 2 weeks now, and this is the first time where I've actually been able to unplug. I'm working some this week, but like this is the only thing I'm doing today, and that's lovely. And it's taken so long for me to be able to get out of the state that we're going to talk about, that's really at the root of this. And I've called some of this selfless syndrome over the years, and that is what it is, but to give it another name, this actually comes from some heart math books that I've been reading through recently. It's this idea of overcare, over identity, and over attachment. And what these things are is none of them are driven from a bad place, but it's where we reach this point where we've gone so far into our identity, our self-worth, our, desire to help in some way, that things start to get out of balance. And honestly, it's where relationships fail and we burn out. And we look around one day and wonder when our kids grew up, or the look around and we haven't taken a vacation, or when you're on vacation, you're like I used to be, checking in with staff every day and constantly still thinking about work, even while I'm trying to relax on the beach in Maui. And so what all of this starts with is really identifying the root of this. And I wanted to share, one of the most impactful leadership trainings that I went to was one where one of my mentors, Chris Licurdo, made the statement when he was talking about identity in some way, and said, your identity is not what you do. And this really challenged me because I had become one of those people and entrepreneurs where I was very attached to my business, to the thing I'd created, to the status, to what I did, to being a chiropractor. This is not specific to chiropractors today, but in the chiropractic profession, at least, and I think others have this as well, there's like this, deep-seated identity that comes with it because we're different, and, all this stuff. And so it becomes like you have to live, eat, and sleep and breathe chiropractic. That's what we're taught in school. And not making that bad or wrong, but that's, just what I had come to. And all of that stuff, when you go into those places of overcare, over attachment, or over identity, it's where we lose sight of ourselves and lose our balance and lose our harmony in our lives. And so what I wanted to share with you today, just really briefly, is challenging you to look at this. I'm going to share some definitions of these things, but challenging you to take a few minutes today to just think about, bring an inquiry into your life, maybe ask the people around you where some of these things might be showing up. And just to give you a place to start looking is like those places where you feel like you can't turn off, if you feel like you can't go on a vacation, if you feel like you're, constantly needing to be working or doing something, if you feel like you would be lost without what it is that you do in the world. Like, those are all places to look at where you have these things, and not that it's bad. Like, don't come at this from a place of, oh, I'm so bad or wrong, or the guilt and the shame and all the things that I have. If those things are there, don't ignore them. I just saw a post the other day of, someone sharing really openly about struggles of business and just feeling really ashamed about it. And there were like 47 comments that were all like, don't be ashamed, don't be ashamed, don't be ashamed. And that's all well and good. Like, I understand the sentiment. However, part of what it means to get out of our heads and learn to connect with and lead with our heart is also to tune into our emotions and to acknowledge them and not try to shove them in a bag and just ignore them. So if those things are there for you, I'm going to give you a little tool that you can use to just be with that. But the invitation for today is to really look within yourself at, where are you over caring, meaning that your need to care is out of balance. And this can be work related. It can also be about world events. It can be about family, the mother who cares so much about her children that it's stifling to them and they, run away, and it has the opposite effect of what she's trying to achieve there. That can be present with spouses as well. Over identity is when one's own identity is overly invested in something else. So it's when your identity is in a career, a title, something outside of yourself, and is not connected to who you actually are in the world. And then over attachment is where your self-worth is lacking in some way. And so you attach to something else to give yourself value. And I have aspects of all of these things that came through in the first iteration of my business and my chiropractic practice. I went through overcare with my patients to where I was out of balance. I was over-identified with myself in that profession. And I had an over-attachment to the business itself. And I had a hard time letting go. And so when we're in these roles where it's our job to lead and to trust others to to better and lead themselves, and we're the ones who are kind of leading that charge, it starts with us. And so where those things where it feels scary to loosen your reins and actually let it go, that's actually where a lot of freedom and just the ability to go on vacation actually lies. And of course there's, the systems and the strategies and all the stuff that needed to be in place. Yes, but none of that can really happen until you can make the shift within yourself to recognize where you're in overness, where you're in being selfless, where you're giving too much, where you can actually step back and let go a little bit and let yourself just be. And so when you do that, if any of these things that I shared of feeling guilty and ashamed and overwhelmed and like you're failing and it's all your fault and all those things, if any of that comes up, so there's this process that I like to do that's like the quickest and easiest way to just kind of cut through all of that. I'm actually not going to give you that one, but just a piece of it is breathe a little more slowly, a little more deeply. Put your hand on your heart if it feels comfortable. If not, don't do that. Leave your eyes open, close them, whatever you want to do. And as you're doing that, just take all of those big emotions and imagine swaddling them in something, wrapping them or putting them in a box, whatever you need to do, and just let it soak in the compassion of your heart. Find something that you can feel compassionate towards. It might not be yourself in that moment, but just access that feeling of compassion and then just let all that stuff soak there. And from there, the significance will lessen and you'll be able to actually start to have some clarity around how you start to move out of those states of being, because that's really what it is that we're in a state of being of overness. I'm just going to call it overness. So that's overcare, over-attachment, over-identity. And we can shift it, but we need to give ourselves some grace in there to actually find the clarity to do so. So with that, that's, a whole lot for you to think about today, but we like to go deeper on here. So I invite you to take that on. If these conversations, and this is, I'm just going to add this on as a tagline. I was confronted yesterday on a call with other heart math practitioners of I've been relating to consistency as an illusion and not something that I've actually been holding myself to. So I am bringing consistency in a deeper level to showing up live. So these live streams will be every Thursday at noon Pacific time, which is 11 Alaska time and 3 Eastern time. So if you want to join me live, cool. If not, they'll be here. That's fine. And with that, where was I going? Oh, so these conversations, I like to go deep, and it's something that I enjoy. And if this is something that calls to you, or you recognize that maybe you've got some work to do in these things, or you know that life is not, you're not your best self in all the areas that you'd like to be in your life. And this is for both men and women. I've decided this month in June and also in July, I'm going to host 2 each month, but 2 what we're calling empathy circles. And so these are a time where we come together in a small group. I'm going to cap it at no more than 10, but where we can talk through some of this stuff and you can really get support and more guidance in how you actually start to work on shifting all of this. So I will put a link where to join me for that. The first one is going to be on Monday, the 17th, I believe. And I'm going to alter the time. So just check in, pick the one that works best for you, or come to all of them. They're all going to be slightly different in themes, but a similar place to just get support and get fed and deepen some of these conversations beyond just listening to me and maybe doing it, and getting a little more accountability and support, and also connection with like-minded entrepreneurs and leaders, because I know I'm not the only one who's been through these things or going through them currently. So wherever you are in that invitation is there. You can actually just go to emergenthumans.co/links, and the link to register for that will be there. With that, we will see you next Thursday at the same time.